Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the goodness. How do I always forget about this? The Perseverance first. It says first, but it's the first podcast from simulcasting here at this point off of both YouTube as well as on Furry.fm. And today we actually have one hell of a run up today. Like honestly, we have a whole bunch of guests pretty much lined up for you. We're going to be talking about pretty much, our own fandom sort of experiences. We're also going to talk about etiquette. We're going to be talking about social and how to be social within the furry fandom, as well as like a whole bunch of other things. There's so much to actually cover. We've got some of the best voices around here from South Africa, honestly. So we've got, now all I've got is Phasman.
Lol. And me. Don't forget Sudan. Yay.
Sudan is here. Pseudo, Tempest, Val, Scratch. Yeah. We're all here. We're here to talk about a whole bunch of furry things, about our own particular experiences. We're going to be talking about some of the things that some information that we might need or that we think is relatively useful when it comes to being inside the furry fandom or experiencing everything around us. So that's pretty much exactly where we're going to be going with this.
But Ivik, should we not mention our charity for this week?
Oh, you go for it.
I go for it. So guys, charity for this week is the SPCA in Grahamstown. We will post a link to their Facebook page. Apparently things are getting really dire there. As we know, the Eastern Cape is in, financial straits in general, not only for the health system and the social system, but also for our animal friends. So if we can maybe send them just a tiny bit of relief, that would, I think, go a long way to improving the situation for the animals there in the SPCA. We do know personally people who work there, and I think it will actually be a very good community building situation for us as well. So if you have any spare change, please share. I'm also going to be donating a bit. And yeah, that's it.
And I'm popping the link to furry.fm as well.
Excellent.
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 All right. So, I mean, at the end of the day, so the Facebook link has been put down so long, and I see that Jess, thanks. Double posting there. Okay, so I don't know, we do have a little bit of a whole bunch of lead room into this, and I think obviously if we're looking at the questions that we've got here, so obviously the very first question that we're going to have to go through is pretty much how did we get into the fandom in the first place? And those of you who are obviously, in chat and things like that, do yourself a favor. If you want to just talk about your own experiences, we're more than willing to sort of call those out as well. So the first question for everyone is, how did you get into the fandom? And we're going to be starting with, looking at this order here, Pseudo, youngest first.
The youngest first. Whoa. So I don't know if that's like specifically me, but I know there's a lot of younger furs as well that are like me. We started out by hating the furry fandom, and then we got into the furry fandom because of all the things that we get told about it that aren't true. But how I specifically found the furry fandom was on TikTok. So I think 2 years ago now, there was the furry TikTok war, where it was gamers versus furries. Very interesting thing.
Oh my goodness, and there's quite an overlap between the two fandoms, actually.
Quite, indeed, yeah. One wants to... It was quite interesting. They were basically duetting videos, since that's something you can do on TikTok, pointing Nerf guns at furries. So that was pretty fun.
You going around.
Okay, but the important question is who won?
Who won? If I recall correctly, the furries won in the end.
Yes!
Booyah!
Furries for the win. But from there, I actually, what I wanted to do, I don't like this, but I wanted to almost invade a Discord furry server. And I wanted to see how these furries were actually.
Oh,
compared
you
the
were one of
ideas,
those
I
people.
was one of the raiders, in fact. I was raiding a Discord server and I was blown away. Like, every preconception I had about furries was just not true.
Like how you met me at Comic Con Africa, if I'm not wrong.
I was very scared to come up to you at Comic Con Africa. I was like, I know this person. His name's Tempest. Should I go up to him? I did eventually, but yeah.
Like, did you carry that much in fear when you saw me?
Yes, I did. When you are faced with two different colored eyes, it's a bit like that. You cower in fear a bit.
Two different colored eyes.
Yes.
Why is it that always people go for my eyes? Like,
I don't know.
am I that intimidating?
Quite a bit. But yeah, I
They
joined that Discord.
glow.
They glow. I joined that Discord and I just found my place in the furry fandom. So
One of us. One of us.
from
If-
3 days, it was over the span of 3 days, I went from absolutely hating furries. That year, in fact, I saw Tempest at Rage, and I had some things to say to my friends about furries, and I regret that. But now that I joined this Discord server, 3 days later, I was set up with a protogen persona, and it's been amazing ever since.
That is good.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
I got into the fandom.
Hmm.
So you
Yeah.
went from hating to loving to advocating actually for the fandom.
Pretty much.
Pretty much, it seemed.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Right, and then next up we have Tempest.
Oh, me.
Yes. Hmm.
Well, to be frankly honest, it actually started 10 years ago. That's basically how long I've been in the fandom, actually. Starting as any basic person, I was just in for the arts, not for anything else. Until I actually came across, it was in 2015 where I actually met Yote the very first time at Rage, coincidentally. We were like sitting 2 rows apart from each other. I didn't know he was a furry until I saw his fursuit and saw his wallpaper on his monitor at the LAN party itself. I'm like,
Lol.
like this can't be, like, is this dude for real? It's like, is this guy a furry, whatever? And then my best friend, out of all people, and okay, he's not a furry, but he supports me with the whole shebang and all that. Like, I was a very shy person. He like walked up to Yoda's like, you know, that dude right over there is like a furry as well. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what? And then actually meeting Yod convinced me more into the fandom itself, and actually got me into the whole shooting as well. Because like I said, I was like just for the arts there. I wasn't really for all the variety that the fandom has to offer, you know, all the talents and people that's out there. So after that, got more into it. Actually, then started designing my own persona and all that shebang. And eventually, I was so convinced by Yote publicly shooting, I was like, I want to do that because I really wanted to do the whole cosplay thing. But anybody can go around dressed up like some of their favorite comic characters or movie characters, and being your own original character, you know, no one can copy that. And I actually really wanted to do that. So that's how I eventually attempted to commission myself a suit, got deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole of the fandom, and eventually was just like hooked onto it completely. Meeting everybody that's basically in the chat right here, actually meeting Ivik for the first time when we, funny enough, went to watch Zootopia for the first time.
Yay, Zootopia. So 2014.
Yes, like no, it wasn't 2014. I sure it was 2015. Oh well, the point is like I met everybody and I just like I was completely hooked because we were all like-minded. We had the same interests besides, you know, being furries and all that. Like the common interest that we had with a lot of things, if it's gaming, technology, music, it was like, wow, I can really vibe with these people. It was like I really actually like this. And since then, I was completely hooked. And here, still sitting after 10 years and still going on.
Yeah, definitely. Once you're a furry, right? You
Yeah.
can be to a more or lesser degree, but once you're in the fandom, you're kind of like in the fandom.
People have tried leaving before. It never works.
It never works.
I've-
It's
I
like a
tried-
tar pit.
I tried leaving and then I started a convention.
Look at you now. Yay. Look at your sweetie.
Oh no.
Convention host / radio host.
Yeah. How
Which is interesting because you are next on the list, Ivik.
Yeah.
Tell us your story, how you went from, well, boring to
More boring.
like quite important in the small fish pond of our local fandom.
Look, I mean, yeah, it kind of did sort of start out like that. No, it really more started with when was it? Scratch 2003,
Somewhere around there, I think.
2003, 2004, somewhere around about there. No,
No, it was
no.
before that.
No, I'm lying to myself. It was still high school. It was, I think, grade 9.
Early high school, yeah.
So grade 8, grade 9, round about there. And
2002, 2003-ish.
yeah. So I think that actually, like, we generally talk about this story together because it seems almost apt. So me and Scratch, particularly because what was it? We were both interested in like web comics and things. I was getting myself into like online like
I'm just
web
surprised that both of you went to school. I mean, it
Oh,
doesn't
shit.
show.
and yet both of us also have degrees. We don't necessarily know
What?
how that
They're just handing them out right now, aren't they?
no, right? To absolutely every single Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Yay.
Yeah, no, I mean it's been a very, very long sort of like I think pathway again from high school all the way till now. And I mean like it's always been fun. It's always been something to be able to do. Like I know that like some people have other sort of proclivities. They, RP a lot more or do this or do that, do a whole bunch of like, I'll call them extramurals. And I know that from my side, I don't necessarily do as much when it comes to, playing out my character. It was just a way of like, I don't know, properly fitting into my skin more than anything else. And that pretty much was sort of how I became a furry. I was like, you know what, this is a better version of me. Let's go with that. And it's stuck ever since.
And you pulled
Yeah.
Scratch down with you into the tar pit.
Exactly.
You were the innocent.
Yeah.
I love telling this story because it's so simple. I became friends with Ivik through Stockholm Syndrome.
This is true.
This is true. To the point where, like, he introduced me to like a bunch of webcomics, among other things, which I also started falling for. Like back in the early 2000s, there were a lot of interesting webcomics going, and I really enjoyed them. And I tried to emulate some of their drawing styles, and started to like doodle and do some drawings myself. And then from there, sort of my persona also jumped out eventually. It's sort of in comparison to some people, a bit of a boring design, but I mean, I like it. The color schemes sort of match up. The orange and the blue contrast nicely. But yeah, it's yeah,
Do you still have your hoodie?
Yes, I do. It's somewhere in a closet.
May I ask, like, which webcomics were those? If my interest.
Well, I was crazy about Calvin and Hobbes, not a webcomic, but it's just like one of those things. It was Class Menagerie, Free Fall. It wasn't a webcomic, but the site Tunapalooza, run by Jen Seng. That was a lot of that led to a lot of my drawing inspiration. There were so many comics on the Belfry that I checked up on quite frequently. Ozzy and Millie.
I remember Ozzy and Millie.
Yeah.
Furry's still going, by the way.
What?
Yeah, it's still a live site.
My gosh. That is, wow. Next level.
Yeah, I used to read that quite a lot.
Ooh, yeah. Thank you to Sadrock for the tip.
Thank you, Zadok.
But yeah, and there's a whole...
And blank. I will find you.
Oh.
I will find you. I will thank you.
So there is a bit of chatter going on Furry.fm's side. What's the word? Ferox mentioning that Zootopia really restarted their original sort of universe. They went to MFF, I believe. I see another one. Yeah. What's the word? Ferox talking about the fact that it helped push them incredibly far in respect to both massively building things as well as creating the universes that they wanted to create. Sekira talks about the idea of always being interested in anthropomorphic animals, falling in love with a Kenku D&D costume, and is now saving up for a fursuit. And then comics and mangas on the other side as well. So a large amount of chatter from that side. People talking about Ozzy and Millie and Sabrina Online are two kinds.
Oh, Sabrina.
Of course.
I just got Capri into Sabrina and she is loving it. Like, she didn't even knew about it. I was like kind of surprised. I was like, you have to watch this. Like one of my oldest furry comics that I've watched, but like the very first furry comic that I've ever come across was Two Kinds.
Yeah.
And that like got me even more hooked on to the fandom.
Yeah. And it seems like we're probably going to be going into the older spectrum right now. Sudan, I'm looking at you.
Sorry, I needed to take my pulse.
But we're going to start off with Jess first, and then we'll move into the older spectrum of...
Let's call it the pre-easy access to the internet spectrum.
Fair enough. You can call it that. But
No.
yeah, so Jess, go for it.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a weird journey joining the fandom. So basically, growing up, I really, really enjoyed wolves and fantasy art for wolves. So when I started, I was like 10-ish, 11-ish, and we got internet at home, so I didn't know that you can look for artwork online or anything like that. It was just kind of browsing and stuff. But when I was 12, I decided to do a search, and back then we didn't have Google, it was Yahoo. So on Yahoo, I quickly typed in wolf fantasy art in my absolutely terrible spelling, and one thing led to another, and I actually found some furry art. And initially I was like, werewolves, and then I started reading the description, and no, it was actually a thing called furries. One other forum that I found it on.
But I think that's the important thing. It's kind of like growing up, you think that anthropomorphic animals need to have a reason to be. So if a wolf is walking on its hind paws, it is a werewolf. Whereas with furries, they just are. They are just big wolves walking on their hind paws, and everybody's okay with this, and this is normal.
Yeah, and I didn't know any of this. It was a new term or whatever, so I had to look on a forum, and one of the actual posts on there was about their official IRC, and I always only used IRC for like modding because I was modifying my consoles and repairing them, that sort of stuff. So I jumped on, and it was still on EFNet. They had like a little group on there, and we started chatting, and I started hearing and all these weird people with all of these weird animals. It wasn't just wolves. I was surprised you could get like any species. And suddenly my mind just blew open to this whole new world of furries all over. And I started chatting and eventually decided to design my first persona. And my first one was, I think, like a golden retriever. And it was really not me. It was this pretentious sort of... it's my first one, so he's strong, he's big, he's masculine.
Golden
And
retrievers are like the least the pretentious things are what?
But masculine, strong, and you know my character. You know Jess.
Yeah.
So as I got into the fandom and we started talking, I started like exploring myself and finding myself, and I started changing my persona. And eventually, I became the collie I am today, and it just opened up my horizons and things. I remember back then, if you went online and you were looking for furry art, you needed to find a very, very good website that you can trust. You can click on all of the links because when you browsed, I had pictures disabled. I also just can't load a site, 56K modem. And then what you'll do is you'll probably load up 2 pictures at the same time, and you'll go make a cup of coffee and you'll come back and you'll see what they're about and you'll save a few, and you always keep like an archive of your old pictures and that sort of stuff. But what really changed it for me was just like the interactions on IRC. That's where I hanged out like 90% of the time.
But what was that? Was it Alf? What was that? Like there was a fantasy and science fiction archive. Alf Quest, Alf something, Alf. I don't know. And
Yeah,
it had so much furry art on it. That was my go-to place. That's why I got my first taste of furry art.
I think that was in my bookmarks, and there was several forums and 1 or 2 zines. back when the zines had websites and permanently released stuff. And also we spoke about comics earlier. I mean, Sabrina Online was a thing back then. I loved that. That was like my first furry comic that I really got into. We spoke about Mandy, that came out much later, but yeah, it was fun times.
Damien also mentions Amy the squirrel.
Oh yeah. I did a lot of Amy, and Flash was a thing. I would sit like for hours on Newgrounds back when Newgrounds came out, because it was the first Flash distribution platform, and just download all of the furry Flash files.
That's what I used to do.
It was amazing.
Actually, Gretch and I, like, we used to go to school like about an hour before school started, because that's when the PC rooms opened up so that we could actually, do research. And instead, we just played on Furry Muck the entire time. Yep.
No, Furry Mucks is something I never really got into, but I know a lot of people were like into the role playing it. I was just like going onto the groups and talking rubbish, and that's where I started to like learn. And we spoke about like previous history in the fandom, previous drama, Burnt Furs, which I'm sure we'll hear about a little bit later on. There was like a second revival attempt still just when I joined and stuff. It never went anywhere. But it was fun times. And yeah, 7 rand a call on Telkom means that if you connected on a Friday evening, as long as no one picked up the phone line, I could spend a weekend doing furry things online. And most of that was chatting in RC.
And just for 7 rand.
7
But
rand.
God, that was the most. If the phone line dropped even once, you would lose that connection, and you would have to call again. Oh my goodness.
Or if your sister got really impatient and she wants to phone someone. Because remember, the cell phones, my father had, but no one was allowed to use it. That's all. So if someone wanted to call over the weekend, they would have to ask very nicely my mom and go, okay, we're going to pay another 7 rand for the internet afterwards. Except for my sister, who decided, no, the quickest way to do it is all you do is you pick up the phone quickly and put it down, make sure no one notices, and then the connection drops out.
Aren't siblings wonderful?
Oh, yeah. And of course, you go to your mom and, oh, my connection dropped. I don't know what happened. And it's like, okay, no, you had enough this weekend. You mean you spent 8 hours or so on Saturday. It's like, okay, well, there's my time over. All of the people in RC would like not hear from me again for another week. But that's the nice thing back then. It started to become like we knew who's online when. So you started to recognize like the usernames in the RCs and stuff, and when those people were online. And sometimes people will relay messages to others. And if you saw a new face, everyone knew Furry joined. Let's welcome them. Let's say hello. Let's see what that person's interested in.
These Zoomers don't know how good they have it.
Yeah.
Lol. Yes, Scratch, would you like your K now and your cup of tea?
I think we just had it different. It wasn't like it was
It
difficult.
wasn't as accessible. Let me put it
wasn't
that
it wasn't
No.
as accessible, but it was like a bit more special to do it. I
Yeah.
would say
Yeah.
it was. You had to have special time to be on the internet and meet up with furries and stuff.
It's my special time.
Oh my
And in
goodness.
terms of the local fandom, I only like started hanging out with you guys like what's it now, like 6 or 8 years ago or something like
And
that.
you regret every second.
No, it's the best thing ever.
Good
Yeah,
prompt. Good prompt.
And while since we're on the subject, Sudan. What did
Hey.
you- yeah. Look, I mean, I actually haven't heard your story in full, like at all. So I am actually very, very excited to hear this.
Why? It's such a stupid story.
No,
So,
go.
as with most people my age, we actually did not have internet growing up. So in my matric year was the first time we had internet, which was in 1998, you guys. I'm that old. So,
God damn.
God damn, it's true though. So we, I don't think even Suda was born. Suda, when were you born?
2002.
Well, there you go then. I could have been your mother with no scar.
Okay.
Hey,
Ooh,
please,
that's a
I don't
pause.
want you as a child.
Oh, snap.
Oh,
Sorry, it's not personal. I think you could just do better.
Pog. Okay.
Like,
So we had the internet when I was the ripe old age of 18 years old. And of course, the first thing I do is I look up Star Wars because I am and always will be a Star Wars fan, huge Star Wars fan. And let's face it,
Star
it
Wars
was
for the win.
before the prequels. So you could still be a Star Wars fan and it'd be okay. So I joined a Star Wars news group where you posted your little things, and I posted pictures of aliens. I'm doing the hand motions. Aliens, which were just basically furries. So in my mind, as I explained before, in order for an anthropomorphic character to exist, it had to be an alien, it had to be supernatural, something. It couldn't just be.
so you will classify Chewbacca as a furry then?
Well, no, he's an alien. But the
Very
things that
hairy.
I drew and called aliens were basically furry characters. So my one friend on the news group was like, pulled me aside a bit and is like, "Excuse me, do you know why are you drawing so many furries?" And I'm like, "What's a furry?" Because I don't know. I mean, we only got internet like a month before, so I had no idea what a furry was. And he showed me towards, I looked it up, Alfwood. Alfwood was the science fiction and fantasy art, fan arts and stories archive in its heyday. The date it launched was in 1996. So by the time I discovered it, it was at its prime.
Alfwood was amazing back then.
Alfwood
it was like
was
the
amazing.
place. I
Yes.
spent hours, and I used to like go to it because I didn't have time. So I go to like 5 stories and copy and paste the text into
Yes!
Notepad quickly, and then save it. And then for the rest of the week, that was my entertainment.
Yes. Struggles, guys. Struggles. And you used to save things off there and everything. And it took so long to save things off it. And the files weren't that big. I actually discovered a whole folder full of art from, what was that woman's name? I think her name was Amy Provenost. She did the nicest, like Star Wars fan art. And I was so in awe of this woman. And I found an entire folder full of printed pictures from Alfwood for her. So that's why I started, guys. And then obviously I got into the furry fandom, and the rest is basically history. Up until today, 21 years, 22 years later, here I am, still in the fandom. Holy moly.
Damn.
Whoa.
Damn! But Val has been here for longer.
Yes, Val has been here for longer.
Only a little bit.
Oh, when did you join, Val?
Well, now that's a question. I was thinking about it earlier, and I actually can't really answer that, to be perfectly honest with you.
Was it a slow creeping infection?
Well, when I was a young boy, I was one of those people that constantly watched cartoons, even when I was too old for them, so to speak. Something that really didn't sit well with my father, but such is life. Shows like Brackenjan, Looney Tunes, etc. So I went to university in 1992. And I got all first years in Res got a nickname. Mine happened to be Bugs Bunny.
Oh no!
What? Why? Why? Wait, hold on. Why?
Yeah, I need background.
Yes, more questions are being asked.
Lol.
You really haven't figured it out yet?
Because
No, go for it. Is it what?
no. Oh no.
If I
It's not
guess,
gonna make me sad. Please don't make me sad.
Go.
Because I have large front teeth.
You have large
What?
front teeth? Really?
Never. What? I've never actually. That has been the one thing that I've never actively noticed. What? I would have.
Anyways,
I would have said something about accent. I'm not sure. No.
No.
I was one of those computer nerds. So in the mid 90s, I started taking on a part-time job as in the computer lab at university. And that's when I, for the first time in my life, actually had the opportunity to look around on the internet.
Look around.
This was probably 94, 95-ish. But I started, poking around here and there, saw some interesting fandoms, looked around for related pictures, that sort of stuff. I think the thing that eventually got me into the fandom per se, was Digimon when it was airing in South Africa.
What?
Good choice.
Really? Yeah, that was about 98 to 2000, right?
More or less. But I had been looking at various such things ahead of time. So yeah, I joined the fandom roughly early 2000s. Right, I remember that one of the first things I saw was the end of the whole burnt fur movement, which was fascinating to watch.
Oh yeah,
So,
that
yeah.
was
Yeah.
interesting.
It was interesting.
It was a tumultuous time in our fandom's history.
Although I can actually say that my first love was not wolves. Probably to everyone's surprise.
Scandal.
I am surprised and shocked. Explain
That's
yourself.
Huge surprise.
One of the things that happened to me during the whole university career was I got introduced into D&D. And
Oh.
I developed quite a love of dragons.
Oh no.
No.
You're one of those people.
I almost made myself a dragon once. Then again, this was also the time when there was this whole schism between scalies and furries, and they did not sit around the same fire.
Lol, it's
But-
because the dragon set the fire.
That too.
Nicely done.
But yeah, I eventually, after quite a lot of effort, settled on a wolf. A white wolf, actually.
Now, okay, I need to ask. All you weirdly colored Ivic, Scratch, and Valerian, explain your color choices.
I could, if you want me to go first. I
Yeah,
have,
you're gonna go first.
I have this one on lockdown actually. So, I initially wanted to have like a gray or a black wolf, and then my sister pretty much told me, no, that's boring. Here, like find what is your other favorite color? And I said, well, green. And she's like, yeah, okay, cool. So she drew.
Oh my god, your sister's an enabler.
Yes.
Awesome. Does she have an art archive that we can link to later?
Yeah, no, easily.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like she's still like she's actually a graphic designer by trade at this point as well. She
Yeah,
does different horror.
Oh,
she
that's
has
cool.
she has a booth at FanCon every now and then.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I am
Yeah.
shocked and surprised.
But she's definitely not a furry.
Disappointment.
Yeah,
It is a matter of time.
doesn't run in the family.
Oh,
She's
well, we can
friendly
try.
at least, and she doesn't mind drawing furries. It sounds like.
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
she like again like all of my initial art was done by her, and it was absolutely like it was mind blowing stuff. It's still some of my favorite art out there. Like, but yeah. Anyway, moving on. Scratch.
Scratch.
I like blue.
That is a good reason. I do like blue.
It's pretty justified.
I literally sat and doodled like the little wolf character over and over, and took all my colored pencils out of the thing, and like experimented with every single one, going through like green or orange or blue or purple or whatever. But then I eventually sort of settled on blue because I had the idea of the orange hoodie to sort of start off with, and then blue just complemented it nicely. Because yeah, I had an orange hoodie growing up, and it was my favorite hoodie.
Orange, though.
I like orange.
Ugh. I will judge you later. Val? And your blue?
My wolf was originally white and stayed that way for quite some time because Arctic wolf. I like cold weather. I like winter. Eventually I joined Second Life.
I remember Second Life. It was a big thing.
And some drama happened. Let's not go into that. And I decided to create a whole new character on there who was a black wolf. You'll actually find, if you go look on my Fur Affinity page, there's actually quite a few sketches of my black persona. Then eventually I decided I needed a change in pace, and I went for blue because I like blue, like Scratch.
That is fair.
I'm waiting for the two of you to get confused.
Why?
Both of you are blue.
Gosh.
Straight up. Yeah, we're going there.
Gosh. What are you? A colorist?
All the way.
Oh, they all look the same. No, but I can understand the whole kind of like evolution of colors, because Sudan used to be, wait for it, Isabelline. Isabelline is a color which is pale gray, yellow, pale fawn, pale cream brown, or parchment color. So she was just normal lioness color. And then shit happened, and we went to Sudan red.
Ah.
Ta-da!
So you were parchment.
I was parchment.
Okay.
And
I was
would have never
blendy. I
guessed
was very
that-
blendy.
I would have never guessed your surname is actually your color. It just it never clicked until 2 seconds ago.
Really?
What?
I didn't see that. Like, what?
It's true though.
What would you
And-
describe that color as? Terracotta?
I would say terracotta. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in Sudan
But
case.
terracotta.
Yeah, I was
Oh.
about to say that. Well
Damn
done.
it!
God,
Yes.
you beat me to it.
Yes.
All right. Sure. Like that's honestly some really really good conversation to like start off with, and like this next part here. Obviously, it's probably one of the most difficult. Not well. It can be easier to define But to some extent, for many of us, it's actually a little bit more difficult to define or to actually like put into like perspective. And sort of like, again, so when we ask ourselves the question like, what is a furry, like a large amount of other definitions come up, things like furry adjacent, or
Fur friendly.
fur friendly. What were some of the words? Latent, for instance, was somebody who knew that furries existed but
Mhm.
wasn't a furry themselves, but was okay with the idea and the concept.
Yeah.
What other terms were there?
So basically,
mundane.
asymptomatic. Oh, the
Yeah.
mundanes.
Mundanes
Yes.
as well.
The normies.
Normies,
Yeah.
now known as normies, I think, but yeah, definitely more mundanes. But so, I mean, like, I don't know if we could, like, I don't know if we go through the entirety of the circle and ask, what is a furry to you? I guess maybe is that the kind of question that we're wanting to ask here, or how would you like to define this?
We can basically discuss it,
Hmm.
but I think on a very basic level, it is somebody with an interest in anthropomorphic animals. Boom.
Yeah.
That's the dictionary definition. That's
Yes.
like that's what everyone sort of kicks you off. When someone asks with complete honesty, like, "What's a furry?" and you're just like, "Oh, let's say Bugs Bunny or Zootopia. We're fans of that kind of thing," and then you leave it at that, and you don't dig any deeper. You let them dig.
Never dig.
Yeah, because the first thing they'll find is not what they want to find.
Yeah, and I would just add one little segment onto that to actually complete it, and that's more or less my definition of it. A furry is also a person that participates in the community. The participation part of that is key. So you don't have to have a persona or a fursuit, anything like that. But if you hang around the furry chats and if you participate and you're part of the community in some form of way, or if you just constantly comment on the things and constantly support the creators, I would include that into what is a furry. So it's two aspects to it. It's the liking anthropomorphic creatures and the participation.
But I mean, they don't have to be mutually exclusive either, and that's something that we can also just sort of talk about. And it's something that I've seen quite often with respect to people like what's the word? Some of the people that are actually part of this little chat every now and again, who talk about the idea that the reason why they're furries is because of fursuits specifically. And I know that that's a very prevalent sort of conversation piece that comes up very, very often when people are just talking about suits themselves and wanting to suit, and I guess maybe just being mascots of themselves.
Yeah, sorry, I've made a bit of mistake by saying you don't have to. It should have been, okay, if you any aspect of the furry fandom, whether it's fursuits, whether it's artwork, or whether it's anything like that, but they don't have to be all aspects of the fandom.
That's
Yeah.
true. So it's kind of like you can also have interest in other things, like, I don't know, stamp collecting or whatever, but you are not necessarily going to go to conventions for stamp collecting. So if you have an interest in anthropomorphic animals, you could be like my nieces, who, for their age, love anthropomorphic animals, love watching content of anthropomorphic animals, but they're not really furry. So
Yeah.
I also think the participation is a big aspect of it, so that you can have your casuals separated from your, I'm going to say lifestylers, but I'm going to mean people who are serious fans.
More hardcore.
You're
More
such a casual.
hardcore.
Filthy
Yes,
casual.
I said casual. Yes, I did. Enjoy.
Where, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, you draw the line at like casual and lifestylers with the whole involvement in the community. I just answered my own question there.
Lol. There you go.
Uh,
Yeah. So,
mm,
but even in your lifestylers, you have different levels. Like you say, some people consider only if you have a fursuit
yeah.
are you a real furry, in quotation marks.
Yeah, Damien. Yeah, sorry. I just
Can we address the real furries? Is there really such a thing as real furries?
I don't
No, it is a
know.
unique experience for everybody. And
Yes.
as long as you derive joy from your interest, it doesn't matter.
I still believe that one is only truly a furry if they identify as one.
That is the first step, isn't it? You have to say, I'm a furry. You have to
Yes.
identify. And that's
Hmm.
probably why this definition is so hard, because it's
Yeah.
so many different things for so many different people. But I guess the first step definitely is the identify. Okay, and I want to participate probably is the next one. And then the end is then what classifies you as a fursuiter, artist, or if you're just a supporter, or if you're into it for the conversation and the community.
Yeah, indeed. It all starts with acceptance.
Yeah. Damien here is mentioning, saying that maybe this is something that we've started losing in respect to modern day furries, I guess. We can obviously just back this up or not. Stating that most modern day furries may not necessarily are just in it for the persona, not even the persona, but the fursuit itself. So there's no backstory. There's no, and I mean, again, like I don't know, like I don't have an entire backstory. I know a large amount of furries don't have backstories. And I mean, I was from way back when. There is a backstory to it, but like very basic. But yeah, like it doesn't need a story all the time. At the end of the day, if it's who you are and you want to be that particular color, like animal, whatever, then you build on it as you go, I think, on more occasions than not.
To be honest, it's also something that comes up. I mean, I've got one sonar that you'd probably see in the corner there, which that's the only sonar I've got with a backstory. And to date, no one has actually asked me, what's your sonar's backstory? I guess it comes up for RP if you really want to do like deep dive scenario setting sort of things, but it's never been really a big problem.
Yeah, but I've been saying this the whole time. It's furries can just be furries for the sake of being furries. So we don't need backstories anymore. So if you have, like you say, your RP, you like doing RP or you writing a story or whatever, then backstories become more important. But now it's kind of like, hey guys, I'm a cute pink wolfie. Boom. And everybody's like, cool. And that is
Yeah.
awesome. I love that. I love that about the furry fandom is like there is a whole acceptance for whatever you want to be. If you want to be a hot pink wolfie, you can be a hot pink wolfie.
And that's also the thing that people make a big mistake these days when they say if you have a fursuit, oh, you are a furry, then straightforward. That doesn't mean necessarily you have to have a fursuit to be a furry, and that doesn't mean owning a fursuit makes you a furry. I can just be a cosplayer that likes to dress up like a wolf, for example. So again, it varies from what your perspective of being a furry is.
You also mentioned earlier the more serious people. There are a group of people that I know that are where their personas are really parts of their own personality. And for people like that, having a backstory really detracts from the experience to a certain extent. So,
Oh, so you mean
furry,
it's like how they express themselves? It's
exactly.
like wearing a red shirt today, and everyone will be like, "Oh, so what fibers were these was this red shirt like woven from?" And you're like, "Guy, I just wanted to wear a red shirt today."
Yeah, and that also makes sense for the idealism. Jess, my persona, second persona, is the ideal self. That's who I want to be. That's who I want to be there. For that, you can't do a backstory. It's impossible.
That's true.
But ultimately, furry is what you make out of it yourself. It's for some people a very personal thing.
Yeah, very much.
That is what draws me to furry in the first place. It's like it is about your personal experience. So again, as long as you're happy with your experience in the fandom, then the fandom is pretty flexible and there are no real rules. You can be your own fandom. It's amazing.
True. Absolutely true.
And
Hmm?
and one other sort of nice thing about the fandom is it's as self-sustaining thing. Like
Yeah.
bronies came and went kind of thing because the show stopped and like no new content was being produced. Furries produce their own content because like they just do their own thing, and it's self-perpetuating in that way. Like we are fans of each other and like our own characters and stuff like that.
Yeah, that is an infinite amount of content that is to be created, has been created, and is being created
And will be
Self-perpetuating.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, love it.
I mean, and obviously, like this easily leads into the next part here when we talk about like what do you need to be a furry is sort of like the next question, but we've sort of already delved into this quite a bit. But like there are no at least so far from what we've said is that there are no preconceived things that we need to bring along. And I know that chat's been going in this direction as well. Like, do you need to have a fursona? Do you need to have a fursuit? Like, do you need to go to a con, for instance? Do you need to get commissions? Those are the kinds of questions that people might ask quite often. And I know that I've seen, I don't know, a whole bunch of people who say, yes, I'm a furry, but they don't necessarily have a fursona just yet. So, I mean, what do you think would be the basic needs around having a fursona or being a furry?
Let's start off with, like Sudo said, self-identifying first. Once you self-identify, it's kind of like a self-motivating thing. And you can choose what level of participation you would like to engage in. So you, like you mentioned, you have your furry appreciators who are not necessarily going to be making a fursona, but they are still there, maybe supporting the industry, maybe, you know, retweeting artists in their own way. All the way through to people who basically have very successful businesses like YouTube channels, TikTok channels, Discords, whatever, centered around their interest in being a furry, be it a furry YouTuber, your fursuiters, fursuit makers. So it is, wow, levels. Your level of participation is what you decide it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, can I point this to Tempest for a couple of seconds?
Yo.
So, as a, I'm going to call you an accomplished fursuiter for a couple of seconds,
Okay.
but
Go
or
ahead.
so our resident fursuiter. When it comes to the idea of your fursona and everything that you created in respect to your character, like what exactly did you go through to be able to start creating and sort of bringing that character to life?
Well, actually, like Sudan and many of you guys actually mentioned, some people actually pour a lot of their own character traits and experiences into their character and traits of things they like. When I created my persona, believe it or not, like Sudan, I was a very big fan of Star Wars. I was very into sci-fi. Hence why my persona has the cybernetic arm, but that is not the main genre behind the whole design. Growing up as a kid, I was broken down a lot. I was bullied, pushed around. I was basically broken, and I had to build myself back up, basically repair myself in one sense, you could say. So basically, I gave a lot, I went through a lot in life, I sacrificed a lot. I actually sacrificed a lot of myself even when I was going through school. Like, barely had time to be with friends because I was studying, because my parents was always like, you have to study hard because you have to make something with your life one day. So I basically gave a lot of my own, well-being away, and kind of lost a part of myself. Hence, why my persona is more machine in one sense, because I was basically like a machine. I wasn't even human because I was just doing what I was told. At one point, I just had to break free and became more stronger. Hence, why my persona it became this like better part of me, a part of myself that I want to be. Yes, I've been broken, but those scars, you could say, are a reminder of the past where I don't want to be again, that I just want to be better. Just be stronger, be a better person, and just learn from those experiences. So hence it actually I put a lot of myself into my persona's design, every aspect, like characteristics. Besides the arm, that like I said, it's more the part of how I was broken as a child and I had to build myself up. The little scar, something that I have on my actual face. My persona's two colored eyes. I'm actually kind of a little bit. I won't say colorblind, but I have like problems with my one eye that actually I portrayed into this persona design. Like the persona is part of me and the better part of me that I want to be, that I actually focus on being one day.
So for you, your persona was actually like a very, very important part of being in the fandom.
In one sense, yes, because like I said, I didn't actually went into the whole first season to begin with. Like when I discovered the fandom, I saw the suits. I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool, but it's not really what I wanted to, portray it and be part of. Like that wasn't really what I was very into until, like I said, until I met you out and saw how cool it was. Like I was, like I said, the art and everything. I was very talented as a child, being an artist. I actually love drawing, but once again, I had very old-fashioned folks that never saw the practicality of becoming an artist and making a living out of it. So
you became a chef instead,
I had
which
to
is
find,
also like a very creative.
hence why
outlet.
I had precisely I had to find another outlet of expressing a creative side of mine. And actually, it came to when I had hospitality in high school that I actually had to take the first 2 years before deciding on my subjects. And I'm like, okay, I kind of like this. And it was that very year when MasterChef actually came to South Africa and started booming out all these amazing food, and especially the pastry side, because it was basically art on a plate. And I actually got very into it. And then things like the Cake Boss came along as well. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. It's like another way of art and it makes a living. So practicality, sense, plus another outlet of me expressing my creative sides without, completely pushing it away and just becoming a desk junkie. No offense to any of you guys that are.
Oh, very dare.
I will
Yeah,
write a sternly worded email on my new
Yes,
keyboard,
on
on
my
my mechanical keyboard.
Yes, clack, 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 clack. No, but I think actually that is a very important point. Is it's about your expression. So even, sorry everybody, even if you're not a creative or artistic person, you can still in your mind create this character, which can then take you on a journey of like discovering yourself or being a better you or whatever. A lot of people I know cannot put a pen to paper and draw something, but through their character and getting commissions, they can be a better version of themselves, which is like really awesome and very, I think, cathartic for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and also you can learn to be a creative person. I definitely, when I started, I was the least creative person out there. I could not put pen to paper to write about me or stories, let alone role play or anything like that. And it just over the years, just chatting and trying and keeping at it, I learned that I can actually do this, which is kind of freaking amazing.
That's why I think the fandom actually helps people discover a more hidden talent of creativity they never knew they had. For example, besides that, I kind of gave up on the drawing thing. Video editing, when I started doing YouTube, I never knew actually how good I could be at it. And I literally know I didn't go study to be a video editor or anything like that. I literally self-taught from watching other videos and everything. It's like I never knew I was actually good at this until I actually got into the whole fandom.
But that's actually a very good point, because now the fandom kind of like on the whole, I know that there are negatives and there are dramas and things going on, but on the whole, the fandom is quite supportive and encouraging when it comes to any, and when I say any creative pursuit, I mean any creative pursuit, writing, videos, performing in fursuit, drawing, anything. It is so encouraging and so supportive of these content creators. And once you get positive feedback, I mean, you are self-motivated to actually
gives you like a
continue
drive.
and get better and learn new things.
Yeah. I mean, just to like sort of double back onto one of the previous things, one of the things that seems to be coming up, especially in chat quite often, is the fact that, like, again, having just the persona in and of itself does help with self-esteem, particularly the idea that as once I think that one of the things that Furry does so very, very well is the fact that nobody's under the impression that you are exactly you. You are whatever you want to be within that sort of character. You can, be a 9-foot
Blue werewolf.
blue werewolf, for instance, and sort of exist within that kind of sphere. And for me, for instance, one of the major things that I see quite often is that I tend to I turn my furry on in some senses. Weirdly enough, to actually lecture, particularly because I'm actually I'm an introvert far more often than like anything else. I get nervous very easily. I can't perform as well as I'd like to at times. But as soon as I'm either, and I call it going lecturer mode, for instance.
I have the exact same thing for court as well. I go into court mode. It's true.
Yeah. You literally, the accent changes almost. The way that you are, the way that you present yourself changes. And I have to thank Furry for that, because I was, and very much am still, a very, teruggetrokken is the Afrikaans term, reserved person, unless like sort of motivated into either, a furry setting. So in other words, like at, say, a fur meet or at the conventions. But beyond that, like I could spend an entire day not having said a word, and the only thing that I've actually said is something like disparaging towards myself.
I thought you were going to say a woo, but okay.
But to hook onto that, there's also a danger here. Some people get so involved in the fandom that they want to belong at all costs. And sometimes that means doing things that you ultimately don't enjoy. So also be careful of what you do. Let's take fursuiting was mentioned earlier as an example. Some people think to themselves, I need a fursuit to be a furry. So they go and they, at great cost, commission a fursuit, and it gets delivered. And then the experience is not what they wanted it to be. They just cannot fursuit. I've met people like that before, and that can be a big thing as well. So maybe take it in smaller steps. Don't try to fit in too much, if I can phrase it that way.
No, it's true what you say, because like I mentioned, don't necessarily need a fursuit to be a furry or to enjoy the fandom as it is. It's just another outlet that it has to offer in the fandom.
But don't you think that is... Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead,
And
Jason.
also, I understand that treat furry as a hobby, as a secondary thing to your life, not your primary focus of your life, especially in the start. Because if you decide that, you know what, this is my entire life, you're going to take it 110% serious, you're going to fall into those pitfalls. You're going to get into internet arguments and conversations that's really going to hurt you. Or you're going to go out and you're going to buy a fursuit when you can't afford it. Or buy it and find out that fursuiting really isn't for you and you just spent all of that money on fursuiting. Treat it, especially in the start, as a hobby, as a secondary to your existence. And then grow into it as you progress through.
But don't you think that is kind of like the importance of going to in-person conventions so that you can actually experience these things firsthand? Because I was really into the idea of fursuiting. I actually had a friend of mine make my fursuit head. I love it a bit. I have another one commissioned. But holy moly, if I had to fursuit in South African summer weather, I would die. It is hot. It is uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can
It
vouch for
is,
that.
and
It
y-
is
you
ridiculous.
know. So if you can go to a convention and maybe find a friend with a fursuit that you can like run around in like for an hour or two and go, you know what? I really can't do this. Or yes, see more. I really want my own fursuit. This is amazing. I've never felt so alive. So try before you buy.
Yeah, grow
Very
into
important.
it.
Grow
Try new
into it.
experiences. You know,
Power to you.
What?
Power to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is definitely something that, and also having in person, I don't know, conversations with people. You also get a feeling for your local vibe as well. I know in the local fandom we do not have a lot of fursuits, but we do have a lot of writers. We do have a lot of artists, and like finding out who is local, who you can support would actually go a great way to building your local community, your local furry fandom into something better and nicer with more merchandise for you to buy. Yay. It's all about the marketing, guys. It's all about the marketing.
Yeah, you and your stickers, your sticker
Yes, the
empire,
stickers.
your
You
sticker
just
empire.
my sticker empire will work one day.
What happened? What did I miss?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet.
Yet.
That's
So-
the thing of supporting. I think your local community can actually help a lot growing, not only the fandom itself, but the community to get the word out. It's like, how can I put it? Like we were there, but people didn't really knew that we were there until how many years ago? Basically 3 years ago, and suddenly
About
we
3 years, yeah.
yeah, and suddenly popped out. Even like when I was at a MFA last year, like when I told people I'm from South Africa, they're like, "What? There's furries in South Africa?" Like, yeah, they are, and like that's where like I'm actually not to sound like I'm playing white knights or whatever, because I kind of like in one sense gave up on my channel with the content that I tried to make and all that. But then I found another outlet of how I can actually use my channel to actually support the community, and it's actually like getting the word out there. Hence why I actually dwelled in more to the video editing, because I saw all these awesome videos out there from people like Kiva Wolf and Kick the Fairy, all these amazing videos, not only fursuit videos, but like the convention videos. I'm like, I want to do that. And I want to actually do that for the community and just like get the word out. Like, we are here, come see us, come visit us, we are all here.
Yeah, and I mean, with that, of course, the idea, of course, of putting yourself out there, putting yourself online, giving yourself a name, putting your voice up. One of the major things that obviously comes with that is that like now that you're sort of happy in your own skin or have created your own skin, that sounds really weird.
Well, they are skinwalkers. So
Hey.
And
hey,
technically, everyone creates their own skin. Doi.
Yeah, true, all the time.
you
So with that, like, do you think that it's necessary to then have the rest of the world find out that you're a furry, for instance?
That's why I basically didn't do the whole thing. Oh, I'm putting my face on the line, because okay, I don't mind. Like obviously some people in the beginning, especially when I came across a lot of people commenting on the videos that I posted about our convention and all that, like they didn't even know, because they were very shy, and with how the day and age of the internet can be, people are afraid of getting hurt or being picked on, of being liked, being into furries and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of, take it head first. At this one point, I don't really care what people have to say. I've been through a lot of things in life that actually hurt more than what people are doing now these days. That's why I basically became more like a silent partner. I just like, I'll do content, but on my pace, rather use my talents and what I have to support the local community, even if it means throwing myself in the front line for others. I'm kind of used to it, because that's what I've been doing all my life. I basically put myself in harm's way for others for the sake of their own well-being and not even looking at my own.
I mean, I've never actually thought about it like that. For instance, I mean, like with a large amount of the work that we do with the convention, for instance, and like I very rarely, like, people have seen my face, people at work have seen like all the things that I do, and nobody's really like sort of paid it much mind. So it's never really been like it's not the biggest issue. I don't think South Africa, for instance, has sort of like the kind of, I guess, stigma that may be found within other parts of the international like fandom. And even then, like a large amount of the narrative is changing very, very often towards the idea that, you know what, we just exist and kind of will do what we want to do.
That's true.
definitely.
And we've actually been getting quite a lot of good press, even overseas, with regards to the charity function that most cons, fulfill as part of, normal con kind of things. And yeah, I think the tide is slowly turning to indifference, which is okay. I don't mind indifference.
I prefer indifference.
Indifference is
Indifference
awesome.
is good, and it's also worth mentioning that this sort of trend has been more or less set by the internet. I think South Africa was positioned to be in like the perfect spot, because 5 years ago to 10 years ago, people didn't sort of Google as much. So if you told someone you're a furry, they didn't know what this was. Now, as people started Googling and technology has moved forward, now if they Google furries, it's a bit more positive online. So you tend to have a bit more positivity. I remember on my channel, just when I started YouTube in 2007, I had a free background on one of the computers I was repairing. And literally, like, I had everything from the fur fag to EU furries to, all of those. And I just refused on my channel to do anything furry whatsoever. And suddenly, like 3 years ago, it started changing. Suddenly, I can have furries on there. I can have all of that stuff, and it's just been positive. It's been absolutely amazing. And
But
I think,
isn't it horrible? You're running your channel on computers and retro things and whatever. And instead of being there for the content, people are going, ew, fur fag. So that is very demotivating. And I'm glad it is changing because, yeah, people need to get over themselves.
yeah, and also it was very demotivating. But what I found is by building the following, just doing things that I really liked, and having a good following where people really enjoy me and what I do. When I finally showed them, the comments were positive because it was people that enjoyed my stuff. So it was a process, but I don't think this is something that this generation has to face as much as what it was 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely coming along. But as my view on it is, if you have any other interest, say, again, you are into stamp collecting, you're not going to rush up to everybody at work and say, guess what? What was the word again? A philatelist, I think.
You said what now? What is
A
that?
philatelist.
Can't say that.
Philatelist.
A
That is the correct
philanthropist.
word. That is the correct word.
A philatelist. A philatelist.
Stop swearing. Jeez.
I'm sorry that I'm using English. It is somebody who loves stamps.
Philately will get you nowhere.
Philately will get you nowhere. So basically, why do we feel the need to come out about being a furry when you wouldn't come out about, I don't know, enjoying swimming or riding your bicycle or philately,
Could you stop
which are
saying
all
that? It sounds so dirty.
But you also have to judge your friends carefully there when it comes to personal life. I agree with you on work life. I mean, professional life and your personal things should stay apart. But I've been very lucky. I've got a friend, female friend, that I have now known since the mid-90s. And we've been through some ups and downs and so on together. And she has, without a problem, for example, accepted me as a furry completely. So that sort of thing does happen as well.
Because I actually agree with that. It's your friends. I mean, you are going to like most, and especially later in life. I know it's difficult when you're still in school, pseudo, but like later in life, you have more choice and more control over who your friends are. And you start surrounding yourself with people who wouldn't care that you were a furry. I don't know why they would care, but who wouldn't have a negative reaction to it. It's just kind of like one of your interests. And they know the whole of you, and your one interest is absolutely fine with them, and it's no big deal.
You can pick your friends, you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose.
You could, but
You shouldn't. Let's be honest.
the beer virus is out there now. Please don't do that.
Okay, so basically what we're saying is it should be an organic experience. It should come out naturally. It shouldn't be a thing of you're in everyone's face and you're going, I'm a furry, this is what I do, and you've got pockets of artwork everywhere and that sort of
Yes.
stuff.
Do not be the vegan equivalent of hobbies. How do you know somebody's a vegan? How do you know somebody is a vegan? No, how do you know somebody's a vegan? They tell you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a vegan. Hi.
How do you know somebody's an Apple user?
You just
They'll
told us.
tell you. So it is. I still love you, even though you're vegan. I'll bring you some cheese replacement tofu
Pork chops in front
things.
of me.
Cheese replacement. Okay.
So
Yes.
Sudo would never come into my restaurant because I refuse to cook for vegans.
Ah, I'm
You
gonna
come
give you a
you
bad
come to
review on
Sunny Sudan.
Yelp.
Sunny
That's what's
Sudan.
gonna
Sorry,
happen.
All the vegetables.
You're gonna get
Sorry,
such a
like
bad
I
review on
had
Yelp.
some bad experience with those kind of folks, and I kind of just gave up on them.
Wow.
No offense, just it's not gonna happen.
I think
Yeah.
look,
No.
different strokes and different folks, that kind of thing. I think that a vegan, like vegans should be fine. Like everything should be acceptable so long as it's not rammed down your throat, you know?
Yeah, basically,
so
like
it's
my sister is vegan, and I'm perfectly okay with it because it's not a conversation that I constantly have to endure that comes up. And you mentioned restaurants just now. You also wouldn't serve someone in a restaurant in fursuit, jumping on counters, making a mess while someone else tries to record them, would you?
Doing a
That's a good idea,
woo!
actually. I want to see a restaurant like that. Maybe like at a con or something.
There is actually. I think
Is
there's
there?
there's
Oh
a
my
restaurant
God.
in America
I
that's
think in
that's beginning to do
Philadelphia,
that.
like
Yes,
when they have
yeah.
Africon.
There's the one
Please don't
in
watch.
MFF as well. That's German restaurants. I just can't remember the name, where they actually take the paddle and like whack the guys in fursuits.
Okay.
But I think that was also
Problematically,
topical due to the furry convention happening at the time. I don't think that's a restaurant for furries to do that sort of stuff
Yeah.
normally.
No. But the thing is that like I'd say like everything within moderation more than anything else. Like if you want to accept yourself as a furry and you want to be furry full out, like there's that one person who like they're still around, they've always been there, and they're still, you know, in all manners except physical, a wolf.
Lol, a wolf.
No.
Which I'm okay with people like
I'm good
that.
with that. Yeah.
Just as long as they sort of understand that they accept the responsibility of being like that, and they don't break down in their life going, why does everyone hate me, when that normal people don't accept them for being like that, you know? So I'm fine with people being like that as long as they accept the responsibility and the things and everything else that goes with it. But the one question I do want to ask you guys is the thing that I've always heard, and that's coming out as a free to your parents.
Does that
Yeah.
include people other than your parents?
I guess, yeah, we can do friends as well.
Well, I slowly and gently segued my colleagues at work into, hey, I do fantasy art commissions. And they follow me on Twitter now. It's hilarious.
Have you said to them, hi, Uwu? Or like,
Oh, whoa.
lingo in real life?
In real life, yeah, it is what it is. No, but it's kind of like, I think also because of the geek revolution currently happening, a furry is probably the least horrible thing you could possibly be. And there's also more of an acceptance for everybody's kind of like identity, expression happening, which is nice. You don't have to worry as much.
Yeah, you can make it a part of your identity and things. And I think I've found this as well, especially with my parents. They do not know I'm a furry. They don't need to know. It's a hobby. It's something I enjoy. But they, for instance, really know that I really love animals. I love dogs and wolves and things. So it's not uncommon for me to have a birthday or Christmas, and they'll give me like a little dog statue or a dog shirt or one of those sort of things. And for me, that's okay. They don't need to know, because it's not a sexuality. I don't feel like it needs to be a coming out of sort of scenario.
For me, and I think a lot of other younger furries as well, I think that we perceive that as something that it is kind of like coming out, because it's something that has a past negative connotation and sometimes still does. Uh, and you're scared to let people know, especially your parents, because if you tell your parents, hey, I'm a furry, and they have this preconceived idea of what a furry is, what has a furry been in the past, like that's going to be quite interesting. But I've spoken to many other younger furries that is a genuine issue, is that when they want to come out, they want to come out to their friends, their parents, but it is a genuine concern for them because they don't want to be rejected. And we talked about that a bit earlier as well.
My first time I told anyone I was a furry was as hard for me as telling people I'm gay. It was the same sort of experience. I've got two friends from university. I told you about the one earlier. The other one, also a very good friend of mine, role player. He, if you ever visited my house, you'll know that there are pictures of wolves almost everywhere, and here and there a dragon if you actually look around. My one day he just was visiting the US and he brought me a wolf-themed dream catcher, which really surprised me. So he must have picked up on that. A little bit ago, I asked him to help us write the official legal documentation for the convention. Ivy could remember that. Since he's a chartered accountant, and he helped me quite willingly with that. So I guess he knows I'm a furry by now by having read through the whole convention charter.
By default.
And as far as I could tell, nothing has really changed between us in terms of our friendship. So for some people, it just works.
So basically, what we can take away from this, and what for Pseudo as well, for any of the younger viewers, it's very good to test the waters, maybe see how they react to some furry artwork. Of course, not explicit furry artwork. Have some more of the tasteful artwork and that sort of thing, and see how your parents and your friends pick up on it.
Yeah,
and
no,
then gauge if you should continue with it, maybe.
Yeah, it's the same thing for sexuality as well. Like if you're
definitely,
if you're trying to come out like that, you also test the water. It's the same. You can compare it quite similarly to each other.
But let's take this to the next level, and let's say that you test the water and you get a very negative experience from your parents for this, and you know that it's not something that's going to end well if you come out. Do you press forward, or do you sort of just go, okay, I'll wait a little bit until things are safe, and then I'll then go through with it? It's the exact same thing as coming out for me. It sounds like as being gay.
Yeah.
I have told my mother that I'm a furry indirectly, but I have not actually told her I'm gay. So, yeah.
I think she knows.
She probably knows. I'm
thinking she knows.
No,
but I think the big difference is like I listened to the stories of the older crowd in here, and we were only really exposed to the pathogen when we were already adults. Like I was already 18, Val was already at university. So we didn't have that level of dependency anymore. Whereas people are becoming furries younger and younger nowadays due to access to the internet, due to influence in social media, whatever. So it does become a very character building and forming, experience. And therefore, suddenly you need your parental guidance to be in place, which is, I think, very harrowing and very stressful in some cases.
But yeah. But like you mentioned, depending on also if you test the waters, like out of my experience, like I approached with my very trustful friends in this sense. Actually, my best friend, like he knew I was very into animals, and almost any game that we ever played, if you had to like choose an avatar or icon, I will always go for an animal / wolf icon, and he kind of knew. And when I started like drawing still back then, I will always draw like literally animal characteristic people, or actually I used to draw ninkos back in the day, you could say, where I was drawing a character of myself with wolf ears and a tail and everything, and he's like, okay, that's actually pretty cool, and he was actually very into that because he was very into the sci-fi and the fantasy stuff like I was. When I approached my folks about this, I literally went the big guns, and like I said, I had confidence. I kind of, it could go good or it could go bad because I had very old fashioned folks to begin with. So I was more worried about how my father would react to this. My mom, I know, would be very chilled. So literally how I came out that I was very into furries and stuff was literally the day when I got my first suit. I was in suit. I was like in my room. I called my mom and she just like was in awe and like started giggling like, what is this? It's like, this is my
Surprise!
Yeah. And then she calls my father and like my whole heart started sinking like, oh god, oh god, oh god, now okay, what do I do, I was like, okay, just stay calm. My dad comes and my dad had like the biggest smile on his face, and I'm like, okay, so far so good. And it's like, and he's like, where did you get this? Like, I got this commission from people that I know in the UK. Is this for the conventions that you go to that you want? I was like, yeah, I actually always wanted to do this, but this is like my own original design and everything. So they were like actually much chill that I expected. They actually started telling everybody, the folks, the family, and everything. Literally the next weekend when we had the whole family over, my dad was like the first one. Like, you have to show everybody your suit. It's like, wait, what? Like, are you for real now? Like, do I have to? It's like, come on, they will like it. So, okay, got into suit, like slowly went through the hallway, approached the living room area, everybody sitting, and like everybody was just reacting. And I'm like, oh god, what did I get myself into? And my grandmother especially, she was like, is that my grandson? I was like, gran? Like the positive reaction, I couldn't like what I was experiencing was like beyond what I was expecting. Especially like I was scared because, like I said, I have very old fashioned folks, especially my dad. But he, out of all people, was more supportive of the whole fandom and the community. In such a way, like today, even like when I got art commission and art that I bought, he actually got frames for my art and actually helped them put it into my room. It's like, wow.
But I feel like that is also a very positive thing to take away, is that I think most parents just want their kids to be happy and to be safe. So if your hobbies are entertaining you, they are keeping you happy, they're keeping you safe, then where's the harm? Where's the harm in that?
Because that's the thing. I think the way why they approach it very easily, because they knew I was very into fantasy, sci-fi, comics, and all these kind of things. I didn't approach them as the furry fandom itself. And obvious, my mom being the curious lady she is, she actually started Googling it. And that's where I started panicking. It's like, you don't Google this stuff. Like, don't just jump onto the internet with the stuff. Let me take this slowly and explain to her. And then eventually explain to my father as well. Because I was afraid, oh, fuck, they're probably going to see the bad sides and all that stuff. And then they're going to start judging. But eventually, I took the time, sat down with them. I actually looked up, I can't remember who, but also with the well-known freeze out there on YouTube that actually had a proper video explaining how, this works and what it's all about. It's like, okay, this is what I give. Here's another person's point of view that you can listen to. And since then, they were actually more chilled. And again, my mom being curious, every time I go to them, if I'm going out, she's like, are you going, gaan jy na die furries toe nou? En goed, is just, ja ma.
Lol, that's adorable.
Oh, it's like, it was so weird at one point. It's like, okay, what did I got myself into? It's like, it's a good thing, but it feels so weird.
But yeah, like from the YouTube chat, you can see Twilight Lunafer did not have as good a experience. He says that the first I told was a friend of 12 years and it ended their friendship. Ooh, no, kick that person to the curb. They do not deserve you. If they cannot even accept this small aspect of yourself, they do not deserve your wonderful you. And let's see here, Kepri. Do you want to read Kepri's Tempest? Maybe you could do it in her voice.
Oh, wait, what?
It'll be adorable.
Oh, no, wait, what?
Lol. Okay. But Kepri says that her grandparents and parents are quite happy that she's a person that enjoys drawing animals and wearing expensive carpets rather than an alcoholic, a drug-consuming adult. Oh, whoa. There you go. So it's all about positivity.
Yeah, it is all.
Yeah, there's much worse than being a furry out there, to be perfectly fair. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
But now you are a furry. You have your persona. Next step, spending money.
All of the money.
You make
All
your
of the
entire
money.
living room full of wolves.
Yes, all the good stuff. Merchandising. So in the furry community, what do? We get commissions because it is an ode to ourselves, to our wonderful selves.
It really is. Like
build a little shrine of yourself. I mean, that's awesome.
You find artists like Sudan, for instance.
You shut your mouth.
Who does some of the like for me, like I absolutely love your art style. Just so you know, I'm gonna dote all over you for as soon as I have money again. Yeah. But like the thing is that people, and that's something that we can also just segue into just a little bit when it comes to choosing which style you want your furry sort of your first picture to be commissioned in. I think that's super exciting. It's also possibly one of the most like difficult decisions that you can make. I mean, like there are so many artists out there trying to figure out who or why that particular art style is something you like. And I mean, like there are particular artists that I will always go to again and again for any kind of particular art, specifically because I love the style that they're drawing.
And there are such a varied like plethora of art styles currently in the furry fandom. I have to say, since the past 3 years that we've been like actively promoting the furry fandom in South Africa, so many artists have crawled out of the woodwork, and I'm so happy about it because your choice on price range, style, everything is just so much wider, and I am over the moon about that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely, I love it.
But yeah, so from a actually, let's, before we get into client's point of view, like let's talk about the artist's point of view. And since we have an artist right here,
where?
I don't actually know. Did you disappear? Jeez.
Oh no! A wild artist appears, throws Pokeball.
Catch it.
Catch it. like from an artist point of view, I have to say that the South African market is at the moment under strain. There are many artists, loads of people are actually giving really good quality commissions, but because of constraints, financial and otherwise, the sales are a bit down.
Yeah.
But that aside, economics aside, I do believe that there is a good, healthy market available in South Africa. You just have to be at this moment patient, and you have to market yourself quite well. Luckily, we are still a small community, so if anybody is open for commissions, you would know about it. Most people are either part of various Telegram groups or Twitter, and there's almost always some special, some commission, some cute little, like a nice little icon thing going. I know that Kepri does a lot of really adorable things. Papercat, unfortunately, she doesn't really do commissions anymore. She's more into the fursuit making, which is wonderful, by the way. Nanook is amazing. He does really nicely rendered pieces. Nopulent also does really nice rendered pieces. So if you want
Shout,
like a
yeah,
full
shout out
background,
to Sharkblade as well.
Sharkblade, Oxy Foxy, oh my goodness. So many really, really good artists just in South Africa and working at really good prices. I'm going to have to tell you. Most of the South African artists I know have a, let me say, international price, and they're in a much lower South African price. So most of the artists are considering that the local market cannot afford, the going rates of the overseas market. And they do cater for it. And that I really appreciate at some stage.
Like there's a random shout out to somebody who is not from South Africa, but is definitely South Africa adjacent in Archer, for instance.
Oh my gosh, yes. He's Africa. Boom.
Yeah.
We're Pan-African now.
Yes.
It's all good.
By
Gosh,
one.
yes. By one. We also have that guy from Madagascar, isn't he? No, he's a writer. Right? The guy that you had him on your show, yeah?
Yeah.
So I feel that African...
Actually, no. He's also an artist.
Yes, exactly. So the African community, I think it's there, but it's untapped.
Yes, untapped is definitely the word for it.
So we need to hit that vein wide open and mine out the sweet, sweet gold.
Marketing, advertising.
Yep, advertising is very important.
And in terms of a buyer's market, as someone commissioning, trying to find an untapped market is actually where you're supposed to start looking, because generally speaking, even the international prices, it's extremely competitive if you get a local South African artist. They tend to really underprice the amount of work that they put into it. So if you're a buyer and you're looking for artwork, it's really good to try and tap these markets early.
I agree with that.
You sound like a salesman.
Yes, tap the marketer. That's free real estate.
Oh no.
Yes.
It's called being a furry on a budget. So you tend to shop around quite a bit and things. And for the actual quality of the work that you get from some of these, Moxie Foxy, for instance, and Sudan both do fantastic works. The quality that you get, Moxie recently redid all of my content for my YouTube channel. And
oh my God,
those
pictures. Oh my goodness. It was but it is such high quality work. She should be charging you an arm and a leg. I'm sorry, but I said it.
She should be. And the thing is, the communication for that, there wasn't a single week that went past when I didn't get an update, when I didn't get like feedback from her and that sort of stuff. And for me, that's the number one experience when you deal with artists is good communication.
But that's the benefit of being from, I guess, a growing market as well. Like the thing is that because you're still like there's still a large amount of conversation, a large amount more conversation between the artist as well as the commissioner. Something that you find quite often there. But like as soon as, and I mean again, like. No actual flames being thrown here, but there are people out there who've gotten to such a status point that They put out, say, a commission, for instance, or not a commission. They put out like your character here, and they put up a bidding amount.
Oh my
for-
goodness. Twilight
then-
was mentioning it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the bidding amount is like, say, $500 minimum, or no, what was it? $1,000, $2,000 to start?
The starting price was $5,500.
And I mean, I get that. I understand
Yes.
the need, and the fact of the matter is that, but at the end of the day, it kind of takes away the love of the art itself. I don't know. Maybe that's me.
And also, where's the money going? Would you rather support someone that's in such high demand versus support someone where you know that the money that you're sending them is going to go to food, living, and that sort of stuff, and they're currently struggling to do that already? I mean, that's why I don't tend to look at those huge figures and those huge sort of artists, because I know that they're in a position where they're okay at the moment, while
there's
a
somebody
lot
who
of
buys it.
artists now aren't okay, that they're not coping.
Yeah.
So I would much rather send my commissions towards that sort of side, to know that my money is going towards something good.
But different market, different, like somebody's going to buy it. At the end of the day, somebody's going to spend that amount of money on it, and they're perfectly well within their right to do that.
Yeah, if you have the
argument.
money, if you can afford it, who am I to tell you how to spend your money?
Yeah, different strokes for different folks. If that's the sort of thing you want to do, and if you want that sort of prestige from a commission, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. But just from where I'm coming from, I tend to spend it a little bit differently.
But I just enjoy those threads where people are losing their minds about the price. I'm like, guy, you don't have to buy it. Just move along. Go to the other artist that you are saying is just as good for half the price or even a quarter of the price, and go and support them.
Yeah.
Point is, support your artists. I
Support
feel in
artists.
the furry community we have a herd of artists that we need to support.
Yes, indeed,
And-
we do.
But also, you mentioning prices as high as that, but there are other fandoms out there. I also, somewhere along the line, was at a comic event where one of the international comic artists came to South Africa, posted by one of the local retailers. And the prices that this person charged was actually quite extreme compared to what you'd get generally in a fandom. So yeah, furry art generally are cheap worldwide.
Yes, according to industry standards, we are actually way underpriced. We are lucky.
So if a person wants to charge that high, let him charge it. There are other fandoms where this would be just normal pricing.
I think with the furry fandom, especially with our user-created content, you could make up the same amount of money as an artist by pure volume of demand. So you are basically wading through a sea of demand, and you must get a level of pricing that is okay for you and okay for your clients, and also your particular brand of clients that you would like to attract.
Yeah, and what's also interesting with this is the opposite side of this. There was a thread on Twitter about there's this page called For Exposure, which it's all of these e-begging and really bad people trying to get free
love
artwork and that
those.
sort of stuff.
I love For Exposure.
And in one of the For Exposure posts, that the person actually thought it was an insult to tell the artist who's not a furry that, oh, I would rather spend the money. You're acting like one of the furry artists at the moment. And I read through the comments on that, and the amount of non-furry artists who says that furries are the best people to deal with, and they would much rather draw for furries, was staggering. It just shows you that as a community, we sort of have an understanding of commissioning and how artists work and respecting artists. I think, Sudani, that's something you can delve into, and especially the For Exposure sort of part with this.
Yeah, we are the new Renaissance, commissioning patrons for art. It's like It was like back in the olden days when people would pay these like opulent
Have an
prices
artist
for
on retainer.
essentially, yeah.
I've bought a new pig. Paint it.
Yeah. Like the
Oh my
magicians.
goodness, the artists were the the Instastax cameras of their time. So if you got something new, your like new child has, I don't know, sprouted something, then you would get your artist in to paint a picture. Nice.
No,
I
just
like
sit still
that.
for 20 hours.
Yeah, for a 3-year-old, good luck.
Wait for the
They would
daguerreotype.
have to be nailed down.
Yeah, there's the daguerreotype as well, which most took, what was it, 3 hours to take a photo?
Oh my goodness! So you had to
Something like
sit
that.
like absolutely still for those 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. Which is why it's really good for people to be dead.
But wasn't that like, okay, major tangent, but wasn't that a thing in Victorian times
Yep.
that you, actually took pictures of your loved ones when they died?
Mm-hmm. Because they would stay.
They would stay still and it would justify the cost of taking a picture. Nice. Anyway.
But Sudan, since we've got you here,
Yes.
from the other side of it, what do you want your clients to ask you? Do you like a client to come to you with a predefined idea of what they want, or more artistic freedom, or more? What sort of requests do you enjoy the most?
I enjoy when people kind of have a prompt. I'm going to say a prompt. So you can say, I would like my blue werewolf character on the beach. Boom. And that opens up a world of possibilities for me. So then I can go researching, I can find a nice pose, I can find nice reference for backgrounds for everything, and I can make you like a really nice picture. Once you have a very specific request for pose, for stance, for expression, for everything, it kind of becomes a bit of a chore. And like myself, especially, I start drawing the separate things instead of drawing the picture. So I have the checklist. Okay, he should be frowning. So I draw a frown. Oh, he should be kneeling. Okay, then I draw the kneeling pose. Oh, he should be on the beach. I'm like, oh. So then I kind of like add it starts becoming a checklist and it doesn't flow as well. So for a WomaCon, shout out to WomaCon, they requested 2 pictures, one for streaming and one for their ticket sales. And that's all the information that they gave me. And the art I ended up, producing, I think was, in my humble opinion, really good because I was given that free reign. They just basically gave me the character things, and that was it. The character ref sheets, and that was it. Which I enjoyed. I will post it here in the chat. There you go. Enjoy. Enjoy, fellow plebeians. Whose scrolly button is that?
It's the entire.
I know.
Okay,
But yeah.
Put that
So
in.
prompts are best.
Yes. Putting this into chat. Haha.
There you go.
Yeah, so we've covered more or less everything with from a commissioning side, wouldn't you say, Sudan? Or is there anything more that you want to expand on? So let's switch it over to from a commissioner. Does any of us have any stories to tell or anything like that as from commissioning artists? What should you look at if you're doing your first, this is now your first time, your first commission? What do you look for?
Good art.
Artists beware.
Yes.
Yes.
Artists beware. Yes, I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, but to be fair, in 22 years of being a furry, I have had way more positive experiences than negative ones. But unfortunately, yeah, the negative ones kind of, stay with you. It is unfortunate.
Sakira mentions that they'd actually like an artist who is able to express themselves through their artwork rather than because it is technically their passion. So in other words, there should be like I guess a back and forth between an artist as well as the commissioner themselves. Like obviously you've got to like the artist first. But yeah, so Sakira mentions that it's their passion. Why don't they see what they can do with it? But then I mean I can understand how that could be somewhat, I guess, daunting. Did I? Yeah.
I am muted. Damn it! I had such a good thing to say. Gosh.
I thought I died.
No, I was muted. I was talking up a storm as well. It was great. And then I'm like, wait, why is nobody responding?
I actually have a good story of one of my commissions that has all of the red flags, and we can probably delve into that as a good example of things to look out for when you commission an artist, if you guys want to.
Let's go with Sudan, and then we can go with you. Yeah. Sudan.
No, I have to say everything again.
Yes, you have the floor. And
yes.
Then we move on to Jess.
Okay, so basically for your commissions, like just be aware, especially if it is an artist that you are in awe of, like you have like a certain amount of respect for an artist. Just follow them for a little while, see what their interactions with other people are like, and like see if there's like maybe a rhythm to when they post art, how much art they post, how often do they open for commissions, and if the commissions that they actually have ever get uploaded onto whatever platform they use most often. What you don't want is an artist with a long queue, something I'm very guilty of a lot of the time. And also you want somebody who is pretty active on any social media platform or gallery platform. You want somebody who is reachable and communicates. You don't want somebody who's going to ghost you. So just do your homework and just like follow an artist that you're interested in for a little while before you go over to commissioning them. And I'm done.
Right. So I've actually, all of those that you mentioned right now was the start of my very first interaction with a furry artist.
Well, there you go.
I did my homework. It's someone that I used to follow and absolutely love the style, regular poster. I never really had a long queue. And it started off not as a commission, but they were releasing a comic that was digital, and you could like buy it and you get a physical release, like a DVD or something. I checked the Bewares back then. There really wasn't much Bewares available, but this person wasn't quite in the Bewares. It was a well-known person in the fandom, so I commissioned that DVD up. I contacted him and said, I really want to buy it. It's the first time you're doing a comic as a physical release. You've been working up for this for months. I love your artwork. I would like something physical from you. So I got a price and I got a shipping amount. And I remember it's South Africa, so the shipping is quite expensive here. I think they charged me at the time like $50 to ship the DVD here, which I thought was fine. That probably means that it's FedEx, it's signed for, it's secured, all of that sort of stuff. And then I paid the money, waited for the release date because it was a launch, and they said it's launched now. Shipments are going out, and I waited and waited. I never got a tracking number for this particular piece of art, for the particular DVD. So that's one red flag there. If the furry artist suddenly disappears and they stop communicating, it's a bad sign. The other thing that I didn't know at the time is if you pay via PayPal and they ask you to send it as friends or family, now this is absolute classic. I don't know if any of you guys have your file for that one or heard of it.
Oh, yes, loads of times, but it's becoming rarer. But for the reasons that you are going to explain to us right now.
So friends and family means that if something goes wrong and you go to PayPal and say, I paid this person for something and I would really like a refund because I never received it. PayPal suddenly said, no, but you paid your friend or family member. That means that there's absolutely no recourse to get your money back, which was at the time exactly what I tried to do. So that, of course, failed. And so I reached out to the artist and I went, okay, I'm still waiting for my stuff. It's been like a month now since you shipped it. What is going on? What can we do to rectify this? And they, once again, took like a week to get back to me. And their response was basically, oh, so sorry to hear about this, but let's wait a little bit longer. It is South Africa. I've never shipped there before. Probably just takes a little bit longer. Cool. Another month goes by. That's a second red flag. Now we're waiting 2 months already for something that was supposed to be done. Messaged them again and said, look, at this stage it's been 2 months. Definitely the package you sent, it's stolen. It hasn't come through. Can we make a plan? So another red flag. Oh, yeah, sure, we can make a plan, but can you please pay cash? Because I've stopped accepting PayPal entirely. So that meant I had to go take an envelope, put it in an envelope, ask the person, okay, right, I'll repay you for the DVD again because I really like your stuff out of the goodness of my heart, and I'll repay you for shipping again. The shipping price suddenly increased the second time because it included a tracking number this time and a signature for it. So I took my money, put it in an envelope, the whole sort of thing, put 2 pieces of paper around it so no one could see it's money, sent it to them, waited 3 weeks, confirmed that they received it. So at this stage, it's been 3 months. They've received the money. They've received the rand. So I'm like, cool. Okay, can you reship it for me? And the following day, suddenly a package arrived at my door. And it was the DVD I originally ordered. So I opened it up and I had a look at the shipping label. It was USPS and it was the cheapest postage that they could possibly find, which was $15 ship or sea travel. And that normally takes 3 months. I paid $50 at the time. So that's another big red flag. And this is where the story sort of changed because I messaged them and said, hey, this is not on. You clearly lied to me about how much you paid for shipping. You clearly lied to me about where it was, etc. This is why I didn't get a tracking number. We need to rectify this. You've got some spare money now. I didn't get the new tracking number from you, so clearly you didn't send a second one. Thank God. Can I just take this money and can I just commission you? Because I love your art. At this stage, I was still like, okay, good, I got what I wanted, but I spend a bit more, I can get art from this. So now suddenly it's turned into a commission. So you'll see my little icon there on screen if you're watching on YouTube. This is not the same one that I've got there, but this is my secondary persona. It's my test persona. This is the one that I test the waters with. I described what the person should draw for me. I described that the person should draw me in a dim lit room under candlelight, writing a piece of parchment, a little bit of detail. It's a traditional artwork. Cool. Another 3 weeks go past, no communication. 4th week goes past. I didn't get a work in progress. I just got the complete, 2/3 completed piece that they sent me a picture of. And what they did is they kind of draw my persona sitting in the dark, and then instead of a head, any detail in there, they just drew a pyramid. Yes or no?
Wait.
Oh dear God! No, I was just like, a what?
A pyramid.
Conspiracy theory. Oh,
Quite
no.
literally a shadow of a pyramid for a head. So no detail whatsoever, no care in the art.
That is quite shocking, actually. Continue.
So I want to ask you a question as an artist. So if I come to you and I tell you it's a dim lit room and I'm describing my persona or something, would you draw, take out big details like the head and that sort of stuff? Because of course there's shadows and things in a room, right? Or would that be a no-no?
No, but let's be honest, nah? It's you kind of need to know your audience. And furries love snoots and pawsies.
Yeah.
So never get rid of the snoots and pawsies. Ever.
So you sort of do like your artistic interpretation of a commission, right? That's the other red flag. As a good artist, you always have to interpret a little bit of what the commissioner wants and what you can deliver and come somewhere in the middle so that you've got something.
But exactly, because sometimes you don't even know what you're capable of until you draw the picture. And sometimes you surprise yourself and that is just lazy. So if you are underperforming, that is weird. You have to have your baseline, and then you must try to at least be on your baseline or above it. Anything below it is half-assed.
Yeah, precisely. And at this stage, I'm like, please, can you redo it for me? And this is not what I asked. I expected to see some details of my persona and everything. You didn't send me a work in progress or anything like that I could clearly identify that there's a problem so that we can rectify it. Because it's a traditional piece, you can't really fix traditional pieces once it's at the 2/3 mark. I said, fine, can you redraw it for me? They redraw it, and at this point, I had such a sour taste for this wonderful artist, this person I loved, that I just decided at this stage, I'm not going to dare let them touch my primary persona. I'm just going to walk away at this stage. And thank goodness I commissioned another artist 2 weeks later, and it was the best experience I've ever done. And big shout out to Curious Dead Kitty, because she did my other piece, and she was everything you expected from a furry artist.
Yeah, but that is kind of just unfortunate, because sometimes you have a bad experience with somebody. Everybody else will have a good experience with that person. But just because you personally didn't gel with each other, the entire commission is then kind of messed up. And I think it also takes a experienced artist to say, you know what, this isn't working for me. I'm going to reimburse you your money, no? And I'm going to walk away from this commission before it becomes a bad experience. Because even now, how long ago was this?
This was 7 years.
Many years ago. Even now, you are disappointed and hurt by your experience from this artist that you admired at a stage.
So you would not, for instance, go out and then create a journal entry bashing the person or expecting the level of artwork when you ask for a commission to be the same as the normal artwork that they post on their page, for instance.
That's what I'm saying. You have to have your basal expectations, and anything below that, I'm like, that is not cool. And you need to... I know it's difficult. Even I get angry sometimes. But sometimes a commissioner just rubs you up the wrong way. Maybe it's just like a poorly worded message. Maybe you yourself are having a bad day that day. But this person just rubs you up the wrong way. Rather walk away from that, reimburse their money and say, I'm sorry, we are having personal differences. I don't want this to ruin, this experience for you, than giving a half-assed thing and then following up with attitude. You don't do that.
Definitely.
Or even worse, going completely silent and starting to ignore the commissioner.
That ghosting. Never ever ghost somebody. At least tell them, you know what? I can't talk to you right now. I'm having X, Y, and Z problems in my life. I will contact you in a week's time. Yeah? But going silent is the worst possible thing that you can do as an artist giving a commission. You cannot do that.
I have had one artist who I have asked 2 commissions on their website, and they just didn't email me back even after it's paid and everything. So I shall not be going back to that artist.
So it's not even a question of maybe their website isn't working correctly. They have contacted you. They have taken your money and then said, boy.
Well, no. It is the website takes PayPal.
But that.
At least you can get a refund. But yeah, so
I decided to just write off the money and then speak to said artist again.
But just to wrap up the whole thing, in terms of red flags, so there's several things that you can look for from a commissioner standpoint. Is number one, we spoke heavily about ghosting and not communicating properly. Number two, also gauge and see how the person reacts to you and that sort of stuff. And if you do get to the end of something and there's bad blood or anything, be prepared just to walk away. There's no point to create furry drama and to create a scene and to cause a whole bunch of stuff. You know, this could have gone completely south. We started throwing rubbish at each other. You know.
Actually, that's a fair question here in chat. Sorry to randomly just hit this, but Archer is saying, "What if the commissioner ghosts you?"
That has actually happened to me. Like, somebody has paid. I sent them drafts, rough drafts. Never heard from that person again. So I'm now like, okay, I can't contact you. I can't communicate with you. How do I proceed? Because now, kind of like, you've paid me for a service, but you're not there to receive the service.
But
Are
you've
you going to
done
be
the
like,
job.
pop up 10 years later and be like, yeah, Sudan, I'm here for my money?
But
This
you've
sketch
done
is
the
going
job.
into the back burner.
Yeah,
Boom.
you've done the job. You finished the job. You put it up there. You name the person, and you let them be. If they've paid you, then they've paid you, and you've done the work. I
Done.
think that's the simple
you
point.
don't
from my side.
know what's going on their side. They could have been in a car accident. They could be in a coma
Exactly, they
somewhere.
could be dead.
Yes, like
I
it.
got
Wow.
that
Thanks for making it. Wow.
Just me. No,
Jeez.
drama.
So
I
much
think
for
in
family
that-
friendly content.
I think in that case, it's 100% on the commissioner, because that's our responsibility as well, is to keep up good communication with the artists that we've commissioned. Because your time is important, and that our time is important as well. And if we both understand that with each other, it will have a good time.
Yeah, fair enough. Any
Jeffrey
case,
actually asked
Yeah.
a question as well in
Yeah.
terms of, and what if the commissioner also wants to pay after the commission?
Boom.
Absolutely
Exactly.
not.
No, you have to do at least half and half. And at bare minimum. And I know a lot of starting artists feel kind of like obligated to either draw things they don't like or to do whatever the commissioner wants to. But you must remember that you're also rendering a service. So you must have terms of service. Very important, terms of service. And that is why you must also do not do your business in DMs and Telegram chats. Do not do not do
Like,
it.
one of the things that like, and this is something that I did when it came to commissioning my first suit, for instance. Like, I am more than happy to pay. Like, say I don't have the money. Like, I'm more than happy to enter into some form of like agreement that states, look, I'll pay you for the next XYZ amount of time. I'm more than happy to wait a long period of time to like have this thing completed. But if we can like enter into an agreement that states, 10, 20, 30%, for instance, once we've completed 50% of the payment, then we can do the sketches and everything like that. I'm more than happy to go into something like that. I'm not going to, and I'm okay to wait for something. I think that's one of the things that as a commissioner, like, I'm okay to wait, especially if it's something that I really want.
Yeah, and also in terms of waiting, that's why watermarks exist. I don't
Mhm.
mind if we decided on, I pay you half now and then half on completion. If the halfway through the process you send me the thing, it's almost complete and it has a huge watermark on it, because I know that's some security for the artist as well. So when we finally do the last payment, that's cool. The artist's mine. It's done.
Yeah. So long as you've entered the conversation, I think, and entering on without being unreasonable. I think those are important.
Basically, both parties should just be aware of how this is going to go down. So there must be consequences for both parties if one of the parties do not want to continue. And there's also kind of like an agreement, verbal or written, between the two parties that, this is how we're going to work it. This is what's going to happen. Once you've paid your 50%, I start working, so that everybody knows what to expect and everybody is kind of like on board with the whole procedure. And different artists have different procedures. That's why terms of service are very important, and you must always read them before commissioning an artist.
True. Absolutely true. So-
can we also
yeah.
just cover one little thing, and that
Okay.
is, especially with the new furs, the young furs, and that is that art cost money. I'm sure that that's something, Sudan, you probably had, is people
What?
messaging you going, "Hi, can you draw me, please?"
No, I'm actually extremely unapproachable and nobody DMs me without just cause. Lol. I say that
Okay.
very seriously.
Hold up. Just give me a second. Sudan.
No, don't you
Hi.
dare. Why are you like this?
Because you said no one does.
So, what are the steps for a first furry when they just joined the fandom and they want to get something commissioned from you, Sudan? What should they do? What's the process?
Okay, I do have a Trello, a Trello with everything, all of the information you could ever possibly want. And I suggest, I have no website building experience, so Trello was my go-to thing. But even if you only have an FA page or whatever, have all of your terms of service, all your pricing and everything there so that people can access it. Nothing irritates me more than shopping for something online and there not being prices on the website. Email for prices, nope, voorbij. So basically, if you contact me, I will direct you to my Trello. There will be no obligation at this stage. You will just contact me. You will say, I want this and this. We can start discussing it. And this is very important. I have now, it was the best thing ever. It was like a Christmas gift to myself, except it was free. So it was a Christmas gift to myself, where I use an invoicing system. So it's a level of professionalism, and also it keeps track for both myself and my client exactly what we agreed on and exactly what the pricing is. It also helps me to log what has been paid, what has not been paid. So whenever I work on my commissions, I go between my Trello and my Waves. Waves is my invoicing app, and I cross-reference between the two. But basically, that is it. And then you wait. At the moment, like I said, my queue is lovely and full. I'm trying to work through it. Motivation is a bit low, but I'm hoping that everybody is still, I don't know, happy with their wait. But I have a full refund policy as well. So if anybody is not happy with their wait, I will basically refund them, no questions asked.
I wish more artists could do that, because that's the sort of thing I see fights about the whole time. Is exactly that. Is
Like,
waiting and then something's
exactly.
longer.
Like literally, if you are tired of waiting for me, I will refund you, no problem. Full refund, no issues. If I haven't started working, refund.
Yeah, sometimes you wait a long time for an artist and it feels a little bit like you're not being taken seriously, especially if the artist starts to work out other clients' artworks
Yes, I am
in the
so
meantime.
guilty of that.
But I find that often if you just ask them nicely, they get responsive. Most of them do.
Yeah, that's basically it. As long as everybody is civil. But yeah, also with the whole pandemic thing, it was, I basically contact all of my commissioners and I said, you know what? We are going now into lockdown. At that stage, we thought it was going to be 3 weeks. Haha. And if you do need your money back, I will refund you. And some people actually did ask for refunds, and other people were like, no, we are fine with waiting. So different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, I just think that in the artist community and within the furry community that, like, you know, it's a little bit of give and take. And at the end of the day, remember, we're still just doing this because we're, enjoying it. It's for fun. It's for, for some of us, it might be for practice. For some of us, various different reasons as to why we would want to commission in the first place. And then, you know what? It's at the end of the day, it should still be very sort of community guided, I guess would probably be the term that I'd like to use. Like community guided, that, you know, if people like your art, then they'll buy from you. If people, if it, the exact same thing. Like if somebody likes your art, don't be, or doesn't like your art, don't be, you know, discouraged by it either.
But it's all about markets, and markets change. So don't stop offering.
Markets.
Markets princesses.
It melts us.
No, it doesn't melt us. It sustains us.
No, it what?
Sustains us.
What is this heresy?
Heresy.
Also, in terms
Bring
of
the
markets
flamethrower.
changing, something that I really enjoy is experimental stuff from artists. If they go out and say, I've got this new style that I want to test out and stuff, I've got like 5 slots for this at a bit of a discount. That's always what I sort of rush for, because that means that I'm getting my favorite artist and something completely different to everything they've done before. I guess that's sort of a way to adapt to the market, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like for me, I'm trying to get more into physical merchandising, stickers, things like that. And it's gone really well because there is a market for furry merchandise, and we just need to actually produce it and have it available for people.
I would love more local merch. That's the one thing I think is lacking a lot in the local community is more people doing merch.
I still need to get a sticker pack from Sudan.
Your sticker pack is still with me. Gosh. You forgot it on my table like a year and a half
No,
ago.
I have it.
Do you have it? Did I bring it for you?
I remember.
I
Yes.
put-
No, but I mean, I want like a Telegram sticker.
You want
Oh.
a Telegram sticker pack? I hate those.
But Sudan, you should start charging like a storage fee for those
Yes.
physical stickers that's staying there. I mean,
You know
just
what I'm
invoice
saying?
Ivik.
Like sweat, blood money.
No.
No, what? No.
What? I don't know what I'm saying no to. I'm just saying no. I'm being difficult.
Gosh, you're the worst.
Any case, I think
Guys,
yeah, it's around about 10:15 right now. So one of the
I
things
think
that
we can wind down. Yeah.
one of the things that we obviously just want to start doing, I think, with respect to, obviously this being the second podcast, as well as then also being like dual cast on Furry.fm. One of the things that we obviously want to do is that to be able to, and I know that we've been trying to interact with our audiences as much as possible, but I mean, if there's anything that you guys want to sort of like either bring up, talk about, anything like that, go for it. We've got some time to just be able to sort of like sit down, chat, and sort of interact just a little bit. So yeah, floor is open. If you have anything that you'd like to talk about, we're more than happy to just either try to answer those questions, or you know, we're probably going to continue doing the thing that I'm currently doing right now, which is flapping my gums to fill time.
Oh, you're waffling.
Yes.
I love waffles. Waffles
Bring
are
your
great.
tasty questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can have a little bit of a waffle until some questions roll in. That would be awesome.
Okay, but like most furry merch, I can tell you from a merchandising perspective, it's difficult to find suppliers. Very difficult to find suppliers. I wanted to make cute little enamel pins. Ken, do you think you can find a local supplier that wants you to buy less than 150 of these things? No.
Yeah, I was helping you look. I remember it was
Gosh, it's
so
impossible.
expensive.
I think the dyes on that is quite expensive, but I think what you
Yeah.
can do is try to get someone with a 3D printer and then do 3D printed ones that you custom enamel over, maybe. Or
I would
something like that.
I'm actually
Oh my gosh.
really gonna invest in getting a printer
Mm.
for future merch that I want to do for the convention. Just a heads up.
Damien and Ferox both mentioning that they're sticker addicted. I agree. I'm also sticker addicted. That's a very weird way to say it.
What, stickers or stickers?
The sticks? I'm assuming Telegram stickers.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. Very nice.
Mm.
I got some bases from, who's the guy? Pulex, who does the cute little foxies and things. He actually sells bases for recoloring. So I bought like the little lion one. going to recolor it. It's going to be so cute. Little Sudans. It's
Yeah, I was
amazing.
actually at one point looking at getting sublimation printers and transfers and that sort of stuff just to offer a service to the local fandom going, I'll do your shirts and your stuff for you. And for YouTubers, if it's low quantity. But the setup cost is so high to do that.
Exactly, the setup cost. And people who have in the past like complained about the physical con merch. I was like, guys, it costs so much to do the setup on the con merch that we only kind of balance it out by volume. So if you're doing, like 1 or 2 prints, like say I'm doing a personalized thing for Scratch, no, with his horrible orange hoodie and beautiful blue wolf. Scratch will only want 1 shirt. So you have to do the sublimation cost and like the setup cost for the print plus the print itself, which becomes like ridiculous, plus the artwork, plus. So now you're paying like what, 500 Rand for a t-shirt? And nobody's going to pay that, which is that.
Once-off prints, I don't think is at all even feasible. It has to be like a minimum quantity of like 20 to 50. So have like a very nice design or something that appeals to more than one person, and then push that out. Capri mentioned just now that she actually knows someone that's doing pins at 80 Rand for a pin. And I would definitely, if it's nice,
Hell? Gimme.
cute, furry pin, I would pay 160 to 200 Rand easily. And if you think about if you produce like 20 or 30 of those and you sell it at the convention, you sell out, that's a reasonable thing to cover your design costs for the artwork in the first place, I would say.
Oh, definitely agreed. So, Capri, throw me a link, baby. I need to see those. And then she also says that she is going to take photo shoots at the next con and print them on site. In stacks.
That would be awesome.
So in other words, you're not going to see me you're just not going to see me at the con at all because now there's more photos and more people with no.
Just wear your mask, baby. It'll be awesome. Just wear the mask. Just wear the mask. Nobody will know it's you.
No one at all.
No one.
Not like,
ooh, that's another thing. Furry masks.
Yes.
Yes.
I thought, I actually thought that would be where you were going with, because
Oh,
you were doing masks at some point, and I was like,
I wanted to.
Where are your furry masks?
But the company that actually prints designs onto material at a not too bad cost, they closed down.
Oh, shit.
Yay, pandemic.
Really? Yeah.
Yes. So I had everything lined up and I was going to do some designs and then they closed, I think, April.
You could have single-handedly saved them.
Guys, I could have. All of us could have. But
luckily, there are companies that's doing very nice ones. Like SPCA has done all of the animal ones, which are freaking amazing.
I know, so cute. Which one had I think they had about 2 kitty ones and about 3 doggy ones.
Oddly enough, Badge's shop that he works for, it's a pet shop, has been doing some really, really fun little sort of masks and things like that. Actually relatively nicely done as well.
Because that is, let's face it, it's the new normal in quotation marks. We are going to be living with masks for quite a while. So I think it's going to be like it already is a massive accessory item. So having your face masks and everything for sale in nice furry prints, why not? Why the hell not?
Yeah,
Or
sorry.
Go. Yeah.
And mentioning pet shops, Dan, you know someone that does really nice collars, isn't it?
I do know somebody who makes really nice collars and lovely geek prints. I have posted, oh man, I need to get the link. I have posted her. It's my colleague actually, and she does it with imported fabric. So you can have your particular geek taste catered to by these lovely, there it is. I will copy and paste it into the chat. And I will also just do this in the Perseverance Telegram chat. She does the nicest print. I love it.
Where did you put
Unfortunately,
it?
the link, there it is in the YouTube and in the Telegram chat.
Okay. Sweet.
Sweet.
Facebook.
Yay.
Would we
Shut
do
your
this?
face. She is not woke, okay? She's not on Twitter. She is a good girl.
Okay. I'm just harping on Facebook more than anything else.
I know.
I can't weigh in on this. I've got a free Facebook that's pretty popular.
That is
Still.
lit. Boom. Lol. Let's just face it. Her normal clientele is the typical Facebook Tani because her normal merch is like wallets and purses and things like that. There, no,
For some reason, I think that she sells like Cook Sisters on the side.
no, she doesn't. She doesn't bake. She only sews. Say no, net.
Oh my god!
Well, and when she showed me the collars, I'm like, so I know these people who might be interested. Oh, do they have dogs? Well, they like dogs.
Yeah, the necks is about the same size as my necks. Like the first collar I bought going to a pet shop, going like, how big is your dog's neck? It's about the same size. I measured it this morning. It's exactly the
No,
same
it's like
size as my neck. You know, how strange was that?
Yay! What a coincidence.
Animals of a feather flock together.
It's true though. Lol. So no, she does really good work. She is very neutral, I would say. So she doesn't really care who buys her collars or for what reason, as long as the collars get bought. And she makes them bespoke with whatever like material you would like. It's awesome.
And I think that's the big thing. You're supporting a maker. You're not supporting some Chinese factory in the middle of nowhere.
Thank
So
you
even
very
if
much.
the person's not a furry, it's still well worth commissioning them for a collar.
Yes, it is a small business, a small enterprise.
But it's always good to support local. Always try to support local as much as you possibly can.
Indeed, especially now. Oh my goodness. Oh my.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But definitely, merch. It's a thing, guys. And basically, again, untapped market.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to find the sweet spot between what suppliers can supply and what will actually sell.
Yeah.
And that's also something I would like to see more of, is things that's not necessarily furry-based art things, but just stuff that people enjoy making as a hobby and selling. I know there's some knife-making furries in the South African fandom and some wallet-making furries. I would love to see them do just normal wallets and knives. I would buy.
What would I use a wallet for? I never have money.
I always have cards.
Yeah.
Or my phone.
No, but definitely, like, I think there is a lot of space, a lot of room for expansion in the dealer's den for South Africa.
Absolutely.
So the world is your oyster. Sell us stuff.
And I think, with that being said, of course, we could probably start talking about wrapping up here. And from, I don't know, thank you for joining.
Huzzah!
Thank you, everyone.
This was
We
great.
We will now wait. Thank you for listening to us ramble. It's been great.
Yeah, so Avik, where would they find us? We're probably going to restream at some other point, but it's not going to be on, of course, your slot. As it's going to be its own thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So obviously, while we're doing a small, quick wrap up and things here. So what we were listening to and the people that are all sort of involved in this, we're all creating a separate sort of talk that is pretty much a lot like the South Africa podcast on Furry.fm. So for those of you who are obviously going to be listening, we'll either dual stream very much the same as we've been doing now, but a large amount of our work will be coming up onto Furry.fm. We'll have slots that are going to be. We'll obviously like keep an eye out, but we're trying to add a couple of new, I guess, English voices also to the Furry.fm family. Something that's been sort of spoken about at length, and when I say at length, I'm talking about years. But yeah, so all of these voices are people who you'll hear far more often in collaboration, or pretty much from either their own sort of their own particular what's the word that I'm looking for, from their own skill sets as well. So we'll be perspectives. So we'll be talking about things like gaming, art, for instance. Most probably also be using the Furry.fm. What's the word? Not YouTube. The other word, Twitch. You'll either see those voices there as well. So there's a lot of stuff happening now. So there's a whole bunch of like, yes, a whole bunch of information that's coming through right now. But yeah, so the voices that you're hearing right now are all sort of getting connected through pretty much every single one of these little sort of avenues that we're beginning to start creating with that, to be able to just expand both the South African agenda.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I'm naming it now.
We have an agenda. I didn't get the
agenda.
memo.
I'm sorry. I'll brief you later. Don't worry.
Okay. It's our secret meeting next week. Okay.
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah. Wednesday.
Don't tell them when.
The secret meeting on Wednesday. Anyway. And just then from my side, obviously on Furry.fm, I'm going to be continuing with music, a little bit of rock to be able to hit us all the way to midnight. But I want everybody else to then also say goodnight and goodbye as well. So, take it away.
Yes. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
It's been great. I'm not working tomorrow, so haha.
Until next time, folks. See you in the next episode.
Yay.
Cheers, everybody.
Have a good sleep, everybody. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.